Welcome back for everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. Always an honor to have a first-time guest on the show. This guest is already established in amateur MMA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, coming onto the show with a record of 3-0, going into a fight 6 days from today for 247 Fighting Championship, 247 MMA at the venue 4 on January 31st. Very excited to have TJ, Sir Gravity Sloan on the show. Sir Gravity, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the welcome. How are you doing today?
It is great having you on the show. Thanks so much for making time out for people that'll be watching this later. We are during the snowstorm of early January 2026, and TJ and I were talking about how we both love shoveling snow, and you've been spending most of the day shoveling snow. So have I. But it's not like a planned question, but what is it like managing 6 days from your fight, what with the unexpected effort of shoveling snow, as well as just maybe changing some of your gym schedule this week? How is the snow affecting kind of preparations going in to this week?
I mean, the gym is closed tomorrow because of the snow, but the nice thing about shoveling snow is it is kind of a nice little workout. You know, you get out there for 30 minutes to an hour, you're sweating under 6 layers of clothes trying to stay warm because anyone who knows me, I hate the cold. I really do. I'm from LA. You see, I'm from LA, so I'm used to nice warm weather, but it's definitely going to be a little odd. I'll just have to be at home getting workouts in. I have a gym downstairs, so it'll make it easy for me to keep my body active, and it's cut week for me. So all I gotta do is cut weight. I got a hot bath and a sauna here, so I'll be fine.
It sounds like a pretty good setup given everything. And yes, even though it's never a great time not be able to get into the gym. Cut week, there's no training, no actual technical training you'll be doing anyhow. Since this is your first time on the show, we were talking about it. I've interviewed you a bunch, 3 times now, in the 247 cage because I have the honor of interviewing the winners after, for the 247 promotion. But it's the first time you've had a chance to come on MMA Fancast. And for that reason, let's get a little bit of history and background on you. Obviously, you mentioned you're from LA. Congrats to the LA Dodgers for winning two World Series in a row, although they did have to beat the Phillies in the second round of the playoffs. Wasn't a fan of that since I'm a Phillies fan. But what background in athletics did you have prior to MMA growing up?
So I grew up. I had anger issues as a kid, so my mom got me in like boxing and karate when I was real young. I did a little bit of gi jujitsu because no gi really wasn't a thing when I was young. Once I started to grow up, got into high school, started playing football, ran track, and that led over into my college career. I was a collegiate athlete out in California. Played football, ran track. I played football until I injured my SI joint in my lower back. After that, I kind of hung up the cleats and really put on the spikes. I became a decathlete. I was number one in the state of California for quite some time. And after, college was done, it wasn't something that I really cared to pursue as much. Don't get me wrong, I definitely did enjoy being a decathlete, doing 10 events in track. I was like the dominant guy. Everybody was like, "Man, you're really doing 10 events?" Yeah, I really did 10 events. It was something, but yeah, that's really what I'm all about athletic wise. And then slowly but surely got into this MMA life.
Well, before we get to your transition to MMA, I can geek out over track. I'm a current track coach for Waynesburg University. Go Jackets! And this actually makes a lot of sense to me. I'm a jump coach, and I've often said prior to getting into MMA myself, I was a triple high jump and long jump coach, and I always said that from a coaching standpoint, if you could coach a field event, which takes just seconds, splits of seconds for the throws and the jumps and the pole vault, if you could coach a field event, then seeing what you need to see in jujitsu, time wise, or kickboxing, your eyes are used to picking up split second stuff.
Hmm.
You obviously understand that. Talk a little bit if there was a position, if there was an aspect of MMA of track that transitions very well in MMA. I would say it's the decathlete because you have to have technique coming out of your ears. You're doing two throwing events, two jumping events, a pole vault event, hurdle event. So you have to be able to pick up technique, but instead of getting perfect, because I know this is what started the UFC all those years ago, right? People were
Hmm.
thinking, well, if I'm just perfect in one style of martial arts, then I could be dominant. That's not really the answer, right? The answer is to not be perfect in one style. It's to be good at a bunch of styles. And
Yep.
the decathlete, as you know, is considered at the Olympic level to be the most fit man or the most fit lady on earth, right? Because of all the different things they have to do. What did you like about the mental and physical challenge of becoming a non-specialist in the decathlete? Obviously, you're a specialist in the sense that you're a multi. I was just training two multis yesterday at the Division 3 level. Congratulations to them. People that had never long jumped before. We're at Muskegum. We don't have indoor long jump facilities, so I was teaching them long jump literally during the meet, at the meet,
Oh.
And it was really exciting. But that's the mindset multis have to have. So what did you like about the mindset multis have to have with the technique, but also the grind? And how do you think that mindset of technique overload, but also being okay at being good as opposed to perfect? Like, for example, I could do this all day, but hurdles. If you're going to be an Olympic champ in hurdles or the best or a national qualifier in hurdles, you're going to spend all your time just getting hurdling down. As a decathlete, you're going to get hurdles down okay, and then you're going to move on, right? You're going to
Yep.
get jumps down okay, and you're going to move on. And so throw, same way. If you have a good javelin body, you could probably get really good at javelin, but as a decathlete, you're not going to. You're going to be good at what you need and move on. So how do you think that was for you during your collegiate days? And then just because you and I both are the rare breed of enjoying track and MMA, you're the first ever to kind of make that connection. How do you think that connected to your ability to kind of be good at lots of the technical side of MMA without freaking out if you don't get everything perfect?
Honestly, in my collegiate track life, I started off just doing high jump when I first got into track. I was actually at football practice and I had jumped and like put my whole arm onto the goalpost, and the track coach, they were out there and he had seen it. He was like, "Hey, try to go over this bar for me really quick." And at the time, like I had done like a little bit of high jump in high school, but I had absolutely no form, so I'm just jumping over butt first, kind of looking all goofy. And once I started to really pick up on high jump, I started to realize that it just wasn't enough for me. Big thing about my life, I've always wanted to be a Renaissance man, and my definition of that is really being able and capable of doing many things. I don't have to be perfect at it, but I like to have knowledge base and as many things as I possibly can. And with that, I started to see the decathletes, and I didn't know what a decathlete was at the time when I first started college track. And I walked over to coach. I was like, "Hey, what are they doing? Like, I see them training this, training that, going for long runs, hopping on the jumps, and doing this pole vault thing." And so I gave it a try, and I actually ended up being quite good at it. I'm a fast guy, so sprints was easy. I grew up running, so running long distance, doing that 1500 cakewalk. But as for like transferring it over into MMA, I mean, it definitely did help because, like you were saying, I had to get used to being good at certain things and not being the best at other things. So, like high jump, that was my best event. I was a high jumper naturally, so I'm going out there jumping 6'7", 7 foot, all these kind of things, and people are like, "Oh wow." Getting big scores from there. And then events like pole vault. Oh, I hate pole vault.
That's not your point score. That's not your point score. Yeah.
My worst event by far. For some reason, I just could not understand putting that pole in the ground, rotating and pushing. It wasn't something that really worked for me. But as for like the throws, the jumps, the sprints, all that stuff, it all clicked. Like doing javelin, doing shot put, it all clicked very well. Forcing that hand-eye coordination or foot-eye coordination, especially like in an event like long jump where you have to dig into the pit and make sure nothing else leans back and you can't have your hands landing back. It's a lot of little technical things, and anyone who knows anything about fighting, once you get to a point where your technique is sound, it becomes focus. And that's where something like hurdles comes into play. It wasn't like I was doing the low hurdles. I was doing 110 high hurdles,
For
where the
sure.
hurdles are dang near up to my chest, and I'm 6'2". So if I have to jump something that's high, you have to be focused, and you lose that one split second of focus, you'll trip over a hurdle, you'll have a misstep, whatever it is. And I mean, I've had times like that where I've gotten out and I get over the first four hurdles and I'm ahead of the whole pack and I lose focus for 1 second because I'm like, oh wow, I'm in front of everybody. Boom. Oh crap, now I'm falling on the floor and now I'm embarrassed and all kinds of things. But being able to be a decathlete, it truly did help. Again, hand-eye coordination, learning how to hone in on specific techniques and honing in on how to actually focus on what needs to be focused at that moment in time. And with MMA, you never know what you're walking into. Like with my previous fights, I prefer to strike. Like that's just who I am. I like to stand up and bang, as we say. But my ground game is spectacular. So it's not like I have to worry about going to the ground. I mean, as we've seen, you go to the ground with me, you're in for one. So your best bet might be to stand up, or if you think your ground game is better, it might be to try me on the ground and find out the hard way.
Well, we have made it all the way back to talk about MMA, and I appreciate you going down the rabbit hole with me. I could talk to you more about track another time. I didn't know that about you, so that's why I like doing these. And the eye air coordination, you mentioned one last thing on the decathlete. Having a short memory, you called it focus, which I like, but as a coach, I always say in running events, you run and you're done. But in jumps or throws or pole vault, you have multiple attempts, and you have to have a short memory. If you absolutely biff it, you have to have a short memory and be able to focus on what you can control. Same thing in MMA. If you have a terrible round and barely make it out of the round in a terrible submission position or whatever, you got to get over to the corner, and you can't be focused on, oh crap, that was bad. You have to be focused on
Hmm.
what's happening next. So, but summarize, what was the experience like getting connected to Stout Pittsburgh? That's your home gym. How did you get from California to Pittsburgh on the abridged version, and how did you get connected to Stout Pittsburgh training wise before we get into the fight itself?
Yeah, so it was about, let's see, we're in what, 2026 now. So we're going on about 3.5 years ago. I found out that I had a brother and that my family lied to me about my whole life. His name is Trey Tipton, which, anybody who's been around the fight scene or anybody who's in the Pittsburgh football scene knows who the heck he is.
Okay.
He's a former collegiate athlete, had his chance with the Steelers, all the jazz. I came out here to get to know who he was at the time. I had just finished college. I had my own business. I was a successful young man. I had the ability to travel and get to know this guy that I didn't get to know my entire life. We're adults now, so it's just like let's take a chance. Let's get to know the one thing that I've always wanted, a big brother. So I came out here and ended up liking him enough to stay. I'm not saying that I like this weather enough to stay, but I ended up liking him enough to stay, and he's seen that I was obviously successful, but I wasn't happy. So we had conversations. He's a big mental health guy, and he started to get into my head. And what makes you happy? What are you into? This, that, and the third. And two things that do make me happy is fighting and animals. So I ended up moving out here with him, getting into the veterinary field, and he actually originally had gotten me into the academy under Kama Worthy. I was training there for a while, and then I had dipped off. I had some things in life that happened, and I really wasn't in the right frame of mind to be able to train. And at the same time, I wasn't actually allowed to fight. One thing that you may or may not know, I don't know if you've ever seen my interview with 247, but I've actually died before. I had a defibrillator in that was keeping me going. Um, and, with all that going on, I was having just mental weakness. Simplest way to put it. I was mentally weak and I was struggling through a lot of stuff. Well, he helped me get through it. We ended up having a long talk, and I found out about Stout through him, through actually Lucas Siebert.
There you go.
That's him and Lucas were good friends, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? I understand the academy didn't really work out for you. You want to restart? Let's restart in a new location. Let's not go back to where we were. If you want to do this right, let's do this right." So we ended up restarting, and I went to Stout. I believe it was September or October of, was it 24? I had gone in, I had talked to Lucas, I had talked to Coach Will, and I was like, hey, like I have a little bit of experience in fighting. I'm from LA, and I had the opportunity to train with Emmanuel Newton. I really want to get back into this fighting thing. I just got my defibrillator taken out so that I actually can
To
fight.
be
Like, this is
medically
what I want to
cleared.
do.
To be medically cleared. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, it was just a simple conversation with them. They're like, hey, show up, show out, and we'll get you a fight. And it was 3 months later that I was stepping into the cage. I mean, that was February 1st of last year. So I'm almost a year into this full career, and here we are, still training with Stout. I mean, I love everybody there. The men there, they're great men. They've helped me get through more stuff than I could possibly talk about in one little sit down here. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. They're God fearing men, and something like that is a very powerful thing for me, being a religious individual that I am. Like it's very powerful because I can sit down, have a conversation, get my head clear, and get right back to training.
Well, that's beautiful, and that's great. You know, your journey obviously has a lot of ups and downs. Praise the Lord that you're alive, that you came through the death, near death experience, and then also be able to get medically cleared. And as a trainer in the past, I've trained people that medically couldn't like actually fight, but still good for the gym. And hats off to anybody that goes out and supports a gym or helps a gym or trains when they know that they can't medically get cleared. Obviously, now you are medically cleared. You're in your fourth fight in just under a year, almost a year to the day, a
Mhm.
fourth fight. So, what have you learned or kind of taken away from your first three fights? All wins. You're 3-0, going up against a guy that has a good number of experience, in MMA, and it's going to be a great fight. But what was kind of the summary, or what did you kind of like experiencing about your first three fights?
Honestly, I believe that it was just the experience itself. Like my first fight, I was just like super in, just like, let's go. I mean, everyone told me that's how it was going to go. You're going to be crazy excited. You're just going to be vibrant, ready to go, ready to punch, ready to do whatever the heck is called for in that moment in time. And that's exactly what it was for me. That first fight was just like, let's get this feeling out. And I mean, I did exactly that. I mean, anybody who was there got to watch the videos. My first combination was a 1-2 nut kick.
That's a classic combo. You're training that all those three times over and over again on Coach Will. One, two, nut
Yeah.
kick, 1-2 nut kick. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a 1-2 leg kick, but the
Hey,
adrenaline rush
I
was there,
know.
and my leg slipped up a little high. So that's how that start fighted out. And I mean, grace to God that he let me come out victorious on that fight. Chase D'Angelo was a great opponent to have going up against, and then I started preparing for my second fight, and I'm so grateful to be at a gym like Stout because being in Pennsylvania, it is such a heavy wrestling state, the number one wrestling state in America. You have to deal with guys who are good at wrestling, who are good at jujitsu. And being at Stout, I mean, we have the best guys. We have numerous black belts, brown belts, purple belts, D1 former wrestlers. Like if you want to work your ground game, it's the place to be. You can go to 4 different locations and get hundreds of different looks. Whether you're doing open mat or doing classes, you never know what the heck you're going to run into, and that helps going into fights. So for my second fight, I was preparing with Coach Randy. I did a full 4 week course of just straight jujitsu with him, and the big thing that we were working was ground, being specifically on the ground, working from the back, working from turtle, rear naked chokes, how to get in and out of those positions. And right before that fight, he sent me a message about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on that Saturday, and he said, "Good luck to you, good skills. I got a real good feeling this fight's going to end in a rear naked choke." And a lot of people don't know and really weren't aware of me when I was going into that fight, but I had lost my hero. He had passed away, and one of my brothers had passed away. The guy that I had grown up with, somebody I was really, really close to. They had both passed away a week apart from each other, a month before the fight.
Wow.
And at the same time, it was also the 1 year anniversary for my aunt's passing. So, I mean, it was just, I was going through a lot. And again, I'm so grateful for the men at Stout because I was able to converse with them and, talk about everything that I was going through. And they were able to, we sit down and pray. They were like, "Look, man, we understand what you're going through. Everybody has their ups and downs. They go through what they go through, but let this be fuel to the fire." And if you got to watch that fight or got to be there for that fight, you could see clearly in that first round, I was out of it. And it was so crazy because anyone who's ever seen me fight, they know when they're announcing, doing all this stuff before we fight, I'm on my knees praying in the cage. And I remember getting up from that prayer, and it was like I was in the most awkward, euphoric stage I've ever experienced in my life. I was not in that fight at all. Kyle Geisinger punched me dead in my face because my hand was down. I was just like, okay. Just so mundane, so not there. And I mean, we got through the first round, and I remember being in that corner with Coach Will and Coach Mike, and they were like, okay, cool. You can be chill, you can do whatever. Now go out there and win this fight. And I was just like, okay. And I can't remember everything that they said, but whatever they said, they knew what to say. And I mean, it clicked, ignited a fire in my heart. And I came out there that second round ready to bang. And just like Coach Randy said, I ended that fight in a rear naked choke. Yeah, and it was great. That experience right there, like it showed me that even through adversity, I can still be a winner. I can still chase my dream and continue on. And then that led to my last fight, which took way longer than what I wanted to for me to actually get a fight. Even coming into this fourth one, the same thing. But my last opponent, that one was wild. He's probably my favorite opponent that I've gone against thus far. Yeah, he took the fight on a short notice because 247 was really searching, trying to get me a fight as soon as possible. And we went out there and we did our thing. And I had him in a modified anaconda in that second round, and I thought he tapped. I didn't let go of him because I heard the bell. I let go of him because I felt him tap. But they said that the bell went before he tapped, whatever, whatever, and I ended up coming out victorious in the end of that fight as well. I mean, just the experience through all three of them, going from being this overexcited, adrenaline rushing to being down, mundane into my third fight where I felt as clear minded and as good as I possibly could going into it. Like it hit. When I was doing my walkout, a certain part of that song came on. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in it now. It really did feel good. It felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be with the right group of people standing behind me. And now here we are, 6 days out from the fourth one.
Yeah, and you've got a fourth fight coming up against Muhammad Bangura, who's had seven. This will be his eighth. You're going into your fourth amateur fight. He's going into your eighth, and that makes sense, right? You're at the point where it's time to take somebody on that has a lot more experience to kind of push your progress, push your stuff. Briefly, before we talk about your fight in 6 days, because I know it's a long story, so just give me the 2 minute version of how you got the fight nickname Sir Gravity. 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, if I would have prepared for it, I could have just pulled up the entire text message. But it actually comes from one of my best friends in California. His name is Miles, and he has been through so much with me. He has seen everything that I've gone through from 2016 until quite literally right now. 10 years of a friendship. Like that's my guy. He really is. Once I like solidified that this was going to be a thing, that I was going to be chasing this MMA career, he had sent me a text message. It was on right after my birthday a few years ago, and the gist of it was, I've witnessed you go through so much. I've witnessed you come back from so much. I've seen you at your highs. I've seen you at your lows. And one thing I can say, man, is that, and it's the motto on my shirt. The motto on my shirt comes from it as well. The odds are never really stacked against you. You're stacked against the odds. And that's why I call you gravity, because nothing can hold you down.
Well, there you go. What a great friendship. Like you said, a brotherhood. And you got both your fight nickname and some of the things you write on your shirt. So that's a great story. Thanks for sharing about Miles. What a wonderful connection to your fight nickname. Talk about whether it's your thoughts about your upcoming fight, your prediction for your upcoming fight, your thoughts on taking a guy who has, a 3-4 record and coming into his eighth fight. What are your thoughts on this matchup 6 days away, January 31st?
Honestly, I never do predictions, to be completely honest with you. I leave it to God. One of the big things that I say to me, and as well as all of my teammates who are always fighting on the card, you can ask any of them. If you're one of my teammates or you're one of my close friends, I pray over every single one of them before I go out or before they go out. I pray over them, and one of the big things that I always say is, this is not your fight. This is God's fight. You're just a vessel for tonight. It's already written in stone. Just go out there and do what you do. And that's really what it comes down to. I've trained hard, I've prepared hard. Like, I understand that this guy does have, a bit more experience than me. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me feel any kind of way. I deal with nothing but experienced pro fighters in my gym. Like, I've had opportunities to go up against guys like Dalton Roston. I got great rounds in with him. And I have opportunities, a lot of people don't know, but Shakur Stevenson's my cousin. I go out and do training camps with him. I just got back from Vegas training with him for his fight next Saturday. So, I mean, I have the experience of going up against high level people, and Muhammad just got his black belt. So, I'm prediction wise, I'll say this: I highly doubt he's going to want to stand and bang with me after he feels these fists a few times. So, I've been prepping for another ground game fight, which it doesn't bother me none. It's just I want somebody who really just wants to stand up and brawl. But I mean, he has in his past fights done it, but I just don't see him wanting to do that with me.
Well, I mean, that makes sense as far as understanding kind of the matchup. And obviously, congrats to your opponent in earning his Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. That's a lifetime achievement. That's a great thing. Probably also an indication that he's, if he feels threatened, he's going to feel confident with a black belt. I know because Lucas, Steel City, Lucas Siebert has said this many times on this card, on the show, because for a while he was at blue belt and he was beating a lot of guys at higher level blue belts than blue belt. And he always said that a stout blue belt or a stout any level belt is bigger. It means more than maybe from some other, just because of the level of training at stout, the level of expectation at stout, the level of competition. So, and I think that's great. One of the things with MMA is you don't really get rated by your jujitsu black belt or not black belt. So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that can be weird about MMA. You could be, like you mentioned, you could be fighting a former state champ. 247 has had many former state champs fight, including Gavin Teasdale, who was the 13th
Yeah.
Pennsylvania wrestler ever to win all four state championships in high school as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And hats off to him. But that doesn't mean he's undefeated in MMA, and he's great,
Yeah.
the best. But I wouldn't want to be a guy fighting him. Imagine in your first fight fighting a guy who's had four state titles. But that's what happens when you're taking fights in MMA, particularly in Pennsylvania, is the wrestling background, the jiu-jitsu background. Sometimes people come into MMA and they've had 15 or 20 kickboxing fights. You never know. MMA
Yeah.
has a lot of different talent within it. And so that's why I think it makes it such an exciting sport. So all good news overall. I appreciate you taking the time. I like how our first interview covered so much. In the future, Lord willing, we'll have you on. We'll be a little bit more focused on just the fight, just your upcoming
Yeah.
fight. Obviously, a lot going on. Get your tickets if you're going to be in person from 247 Fighting Championship website, which is 247fighting.com. Make sure you select TJ Sloan for your for who you're there to support, as well as you could get tickets maybe from him directly. If you're from California or someplace out of the area, download the 247 Live app, which is a fantastic app that 247 has. You can use it on any smart device, and that's the best way to get pay-per-view. There are scams links that pop up on Facebook and other places. So only get tickets from either 247fighting.com or through the app 247 Live. I appreciate you coming on. This has been Luke Pace of MMA Think Us with first-time guest on the show, 6 days away from his 247 MMA at the venue for fight January 31st this weekend at Sunny Days Arena is TJ, Sir, Gravity, Sloan. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate you, big guy. Thank you.
Got it. Vaya con Dios.